to efforts to, or ways whereby Africans can be empowered for success politically, economic, and socially. And so let's pick up, Pastor, in terms of how African Americans can be empowered, that is, given the power to be successful in the various areas that we've already identified. Why don't you start us off with that kind of information?
I think, Dr. Haney, as I indicated, with the knowledge of ourselves, someone once said that we can, with confidence, chart a course for our future. So I think we need to understand who we are, where we come from, as well as where we're going in order to get to where we're going. A lot of times, if we're not armed with the knowledge of who we are, if we don't know what we're actually made of, if we have sewn into what we've been told about who we are, and rather than exploring this thing out for ourselves, seeking out, searching out for ourselves, and actually finding out who we are, and how the tribes that we may have descended from, coming off the continent of Africa, Especially first, when you look at Africa, you got to look at it not as a country, as a continent that's made, that different countries make up, and how that we was brought over here as Africans, and we endured slavery and stuff. But even beyond that, to understand, Dr. Haney, that some of the stereotypes that we've been taught as African Americans in this country, that we need to, as an adults, train our children. One of the things that a lot of things that's missing is that we're not training our children in the way that a lot of times we should be trained, with a lot of the knowledge that we should be giving them in terms of who they really are and what they can accomplish. See, there's so many things that's been put out into our psyche, into our mindset, that suggests that that we're lazy. Now, let me say this, Dr. Haney. Now, when Americans were slaves in this country, we was the most valuable resource. We was a hot commodity over here. Now, when slavery ended, how did the people that worked so hard, were the best of the best, the cream of the crop, that brought the most money on the auction block, how did we all of a sudden become so unvaluable? That how did this good buck that could go and impregnate all these women, and that could go and glean a field and stuff, now all of a sudden slavery is over, and he's lazy, no good for nothing, nobody. So that thought process was impregnated in our mindset, and we latched onto that stuff instead of looking at it. Wait a minute, and somebody should have been analyzing this. Why is this change taking place now, as opposed, why am I different now on this side of slavery than I am on this side of slavery? So those are some of the things that has been injected into our thinking process and our thought processes that keeps us from developing as a people. And I think socially we got to make our youth understand who they are and what they can accomplish in life once they learn who they are, because, we're not these lazy, no good, insignificant people that we've been taught to believe that we are. We're not the people that, there was a time that, you got to think about it, Dr. Haney, during slavery, we had to stick together. We survived, our race of people survived slavery because we had to stick together. We had to look out for one another. We had to provide for one another. We had to do for one another. We had to stick together. Now, all of a sudden, we on this side of slavery. We hit Jim Crow and all this, and now we don't stick together. Is it that we really don't stick together, or is it because we have been indoctrinated through some systemic design to make ourselves believe that we don't stick together to the degree that we actually don't do it?
In other words, we work out to be our own worst enemies.
Absolutely.
In a real sense. Go on.
Yeah, and we do that, Dr. Haney, by actually feeding into stuff that's being told us rather than analyzing what's being said. Because how is it that, when we come out, you think in terms of when you come out of slavery, and you had blacks that was beginning to own businesses and we had to buy and sell from one another and stuff like that. Well, it was a trust thing that had to be implemented in there that says you can't trust your fellow black man to sell you the product at a reasonable price. but not mentioning the fact that he can't sell you the product at the price that you can go get it from the white guy, because the white guy was getting true wholesale and the black man wasn't getting true wholesale. So if his price was marked up when he bought it, then he's gonna have to mark his price up in order to have a profit margin. So, and then that same thing could possibly exist today. And I know this because there are certain companies that I deal with, and I sell clothing, and there's that's companies that I get true wholesale prices from. And then there are a couple of companies that I deal with that they don't give me true wholesale prices. So if you get a suit from that particular catalog, it's gonna cost you more than it would be if you got it from over here, because over here I don't have true wholesale prices, so if they got a 20% markup, I got to market in order to be profitable in that area.
In reference to what you're doing.
So it's not a matter of well, you're selling yours more.
That you're making it's something that's almost forced onto you if you're dealing with any kind of business. Is that what you're saying?
It's the economic part of that system and that's how it works, and that's just how you got to understand. So it's not that the black person would get the store and sell their products much higher just because they wanted to make more money. No, it's so high in order to make money. They had to do that in order to stay afloat and to make money. But we've been taught and we've been indoctrinated with this mindset, this thought process that says, I can't trust you because you're black. But at the same time, we came through this whole process of slavery. We came through this. See, I had to trust you in order to be able to march on the lines during the struggle. I had to trust you that you was going to be there with me during this march.
In a real sense,
absolutely, absolutely. So if I had to trust you, if trust bind us together to make us push forward to bring about some changes in the political spectrum in this country, then I had to have that same measure of trust when I'm dealing business with you as well. So you can't tell me I can trust you if we marching, but I can't trust you if you open the store. So we get ourselves in a situation whereas we're binded by a mindset that's holding us back instead of propelling us forward. And I say this concerning our youth. We have to train our youth, but Dr. Hayne, it's a sad situation a lot of time that we deal with, because it's like, how can you teach when you haven't been taught? So it's a thing, whereas we talk about a lot of time empowering and educating and equipping our youth to do certain things and stuff like that. But at the same time, while in the process of empowering, educating, and equipping our youth, we have to empower, educate, and equip the adults so that they can, in turn, have something to share with the youth. Because where it is now, you look at a lot of situations, the youth are looking and they're listening, but they're seeing one thing, but they're not hearing a lot of what they need to be hearing in terms of how can I navigate my way through these systems and traps that's out here in life for me, and especially in life for when you look at the African American male. And a lot of times I need to say this too, that when you talk about the African American male and African Americans, and you're specifically talking about that, people want to say, well, you're racist or whatever, but that's not it. I just love my people.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, Reverend. Let's have this second commercial break, and then we're going to come back and continue our conversation.